Go to church. Be nice to your neighbor. Say your prayers at night. Go out of your way to really do a nice thing for a relative. Take your wife shopping. Little by little, we work at getting better and better, with the goal that eventually we're going to be good enough for God. It's a common idea. It works in almost everything we deal with in life. You work your way up, you earn it, and we assume it's going to be that way when it comes to the big stuff, like being right with God and having a way to go to heaven. The truth of the matter is, it simply doesn't work that way. In last session, we talked about the assumption that if God is at the top, there must be multiple ways to get there to God. Got to be more than one way. Today, we want to look at the really hard question about Jesus and his claim to be the only way. We need to start with the understanding of the heart of Christianity. Many people assume that Christianity is just one more religion among all the others in the world, and they pick and choose. They kind of decide which one they like, which one works for them. But the fact of the matter is, Christianity is radically different than any other religion in the world. Because Christianity comes with this incredible truth that we don't work our way to God. We don't climb the stairs. In fact, what Christianity teaches is that the stairs have been blown away. They've been blown away because Christ has come to us. He came to where we are, and he joined us in our world, coming right to where we are. We don't have to climb the stairs anymore. We don't have to ascend to where God is. He has come to us in Jesus Christ. That's the radical reality of the gospel. And so it really comes down to the question about Jesus and who exactly he is and what he did. And we need to come to terms with his work and his message. Jesus, we believe as Christians, is God in the flesh. That means that God himself came to us and joined us in our world because he wanted to bring us back to him. Christianity knows that the world is not perfect and things are broken and there is suffering and there is sorrow in the world, but Christ has come to join us in this world to help us deal with our biggest problem, our distance from God, our estrangement from God, to cover that space. And what Christianity gives is not another list or another rule book or another staircase that we need to climb to get back to God. What Christianity gives is the reality of God's plan. He comes to us. He joins us in our world, and he deals with the reality of our brokenness and our sinfulness and the space between us and God. He himself bridges it. Jesus came to make people right with God. That was his purpose, and that's what he did. God, in his mercy, didn't leave us in our brokenness and in our distance from him. He didn't let us just keep on wandering away further and further from him and his plan in our sinful rebellion. Instead, he came and called us back. He called us back in Christ. 2,000 years ago is when Jesus was born. And he spent his ministry in this world, his life in this world, going about and doing God's work. Doing, as I would put it, God's stuff. He did miracles. He healed people who had been born blind. He healed crippled people. He healed the deaf. He even raised people from the dead. And he even forgave people. Looking at people who were caught in sin and just forgiving them. Who can do that? Only God can. Jesus did what God could do, what only God can do. He did God stuff. And how did the world respond to that? The world responded with horror. They didn't want it. They did not want God coming and blowing away their nice system of climbing the stairs and trying to get back to God. It's a human propensity to always want to do something. And so the world around Jesus really wasn't interested in having a God who came with mercy and grace and simply wiped out their nice system of trying to get back to God. So what did they do to Jesus? They rejected him. They killed him. They crucified him. And they walked away saying, there, we took care of that. But of course, God did not let that be the end. It was not the end. On Easter, Jesus was raised from the dead, vindicated. This is critical to the Christian faith. The God who came in Jesus Christ, forgiving sins, bringing people back to God, was raised from the dead, vindicating Jesus as truly God, truly the one who was the way, the only way. People sometimes say that it would be unloving for God to only offer one way of salvation. It seems to make no sense. but really it would be unloving for him to simply walk away and not care. He does care, and he's proven that in Jesus Christ. How remarkable that he's given us any way to be made right with him, and he's done it in Christ. How remarkable that he simply gives us grace. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to deserve it. We don't have to climb the stairs to be good enough for God. We simply receive what he gives. He delivers it. Is Jesus the only way to be right with God? Jesus himself said so. He said it. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. He's the only way. He made the claim himself. And if we're going to be consistent and take him at his word, we have to believe that he is the way that God has provided, and only in Christ is there salvation. Only in Christ is there a way to be right with God again. Is Christianity therefore arrogant and somehow making a claim to be the only people in the world who are right? That's not what we're interested in. Christianity is not about trying to make everybody else look foolish or prove how everybody else is wrong. We are simply trying to be faithful to Christ, who is God in the flesh, who has come for us, and be faithful to proclaim that wonderful message of the gospel. It's a radical message. It blows away every system, every stair, every ladder, every way up to God. There's no climbing. There's simply receiving what God has done. That's the message that Christians call the gospel. The good news of what God has done for us in Christ, the good news that Jesus is the way, the good news that God simply forgives us in Christ because of his perfect death, his perfect resurrection. We have a way to be right with God again. The way is Christ. Christ is the way. That's the message of the gospel. It is the only way to be right with God. You reject Jesus and walk away, and all you're left with are stairs, trying to make your own way to God. It won't work. No staircase can ever reach to heaven. Only Christ comes. Only Christ is the way.